Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Good morning, good afternoon, good night for some, good evening. So, welcome to another session of Women in Caribbean Aquaculture Leadership Summit. We'll go through 10 sessions, and this this summit goes through March 10th to March 22nd. At the end of the session, we'll get a full program for the summit. So if you miss something, then you can uh, register right now. First, some housekeeping rules. This could be a place of networking, so we encourage you to introduce yourself in the chat, sharing your name, role, and what brings you to this webinar today. And we know this is a great opportunity to connect with fellow participants. This session is being recorded right now, so by participating, you consent to be recorded. And the document and its contents of the presentations are the intellectual property of the speakers. If you have any questions, we will have a Q&A dedicated session at the end. However, if you have a question that pops up in your head, just please write it in the chat. And at the Q&A session part of this today, you are very welcome to open your mic to pose the question yourself or turn your camera or write it down in the chat, however you feel comfortable. Our host today is first Maya. I'm sorry, I always miss the pronunciation. Sorry, Maya. Maya Avery from the Cape Eleuthera Institute, and she's also part of the Caribbean Aquaculture Education and Innovation Hub. And myself, Mariana, I work for Hatch Blue for Women in Ocean Food. Okay, so just a quick touch on what the Caribbean Aquaculture Education and Innovation Hub is doing. This is a groundbreaking project that brings together science, technology, business, entrepreneurship, and policy to address the need for the improvement for aquaculture in the Caribbean. And part of this initiative is also the Women in Caribbean Aquaculture, which is a platform for women scientists in the Caribbean to advance their career and to provide a more platform for visibility, mentorship, leadership tools, etc. So on my side, Women in Ocean Food Innovation Studio, it's a business support program for female founders in aquaculture and the blue economy. And this is a mentorship-based program on a global scale, where we provide mentorship from people, from leaders globally. So this program is done in partnership with Conservation International Ventures and is organized by Hatch Blue. Our focus is Latin America and the Caribbean. And luckily, the past 2 years that this program has been done in Latin America, we have had someone from the Caribbean, from one country. So we are still funded for 2 more years. And I would love to keep having people from the Caribbean representing in this program. So if you know someone, check it out. So why are we here? Why is the purpose of this summit? So this aims to provide visibility to women aquaculture scientists and entrepreneurs, amplify voices, break barriers, and create pathways into leadership for women. So today's guest speakers, I'm really excited as a fellow marketer, is Hazel. Hazel Peat is a marketing and events expert who helps women-led female empowering businesses elevate their presence and achieve their goals with bespoke marketing support. She acts as a virtual marketing manager, helping to streamline your strategy and get the marketing talks done, providing expert event management to create impactful experiences, and delivering LinkedIn optimization and management, meeting female entrepreneurs where they are now and helping get them to where they aspire to be. She has experience across diverse range of sectors, including oil and gas, renewable energy, and aquaculture. And she will be taking to us about personal branding for women in aquaculture. So, welcome, Hazel. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I'm gonna start sharing my screen. If you would like to start to share something, so the
Okay.
floor is yours. Welcome.
All right. Can you see the slides okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. So, I will just get into a quick introduction. I won't say too much because Mariana so beautifully introduced me. As you said, I have been working in aquaculture, as well as some other sectors. I've had the pleasure of working with women in Caribbean Aquaculture Education and Innovation Hub, and women in Scottish aquaculture on social media and other marketing activities. So with personal branding, it's not necessarily something that people feel immediately comfortable about. But it is how to position yourself as a leader in your field. And this isn't something that is exclusive to entrepreneurs. It's open to you to build your personal brand with or without your own business. So I thought I'd start with what personal branding actually is. So it is intentionally shaping and promoting the way that you're perceived by others in a professional context. So you do that by defining your unique skills, your values, your expertise, and your personality to create a distinct and recognizable identity that sets you apart from others in your field. I've added this quote from Marie Forleo. Figure out what you uniquely have to offer the world and put that out there with total clarity and confidence. So it's really thinking about what your unique skill set and personality can bring into the sector and just showing up and owning that. And immediately when you think about branding, it can be quite common for people to think about like logos and stuff like that. And that's really much more of a business focused brand, which will represent a company, a product or a service. It will have its visual identity with a logo, and it is there to attract and retain customers based on brand values and reputation. And the difference for personal branding is that it's people focused. So it's representing you as an individual, your expertise, your personality, and your values. Focuses on thought leadership, storytelling, and authenticity, building trust and connection on a personal level, and it aims to attract opportunities for you, clients for you, and partnerships based on credibility and influence. And why does it matter in aquaculture? Aquaculture, it is predominantly a male-dominated industry. Even still, there are lots of women in the sector now, doing lots of really interesting and important jobs, but it is male-dominated. So having a personal brand can help you stand out as a leader and an expert in the field. It can help you to attract promotions, board positions, and speaking engagements if that's something that you want to do. It can help you to connect with key stakeholders, investors, and collaborators. It helps you establish credibility. It helps attract customers, partners, or funding for aquaculture ventures, and helps you to inspire the next generation, being a role model, encouraging more women to enter and thrive in the industry, which can only be a good thing. So, how to define your personal brand? So, you want to know your strengths. So, what are you great at and what sets you apart from everyone else? Clarify your values. What do you stand for and what matters most to you? Identify your audience. who is it that you want to connect with, and craft your message. What do you want people to remember about you? Being consistent is using the same tone of voice and portraying the same message across any platforms that you're involved in. Show your expertise, share your work, your achievements, and your insights. Engage in network, build relationships, and take part in industry discussions, and stay authentic. And your brand should reflect the real you. So, practical steps to building a personal brand. Um, so it's not everyone's cup of tea, but speaking at industry events and panels shares your expertise on whichever particular field you're working in. Writing articles and thought leadership pieces. This can really help to establish you as a thought leader. It can help establish your authority in a specific area. Membership and advocacy, supporting the next generation of women in aquaculture by mentoring, joining industry groups, or advocating for diversity. Networking and community involvement, engage with industry organisations like Women in Caribbean Aquaculture to expand influence and opportunities. And these sorts of organisations offer so much support and connection as well when you may feel slightly isolated. Perhaps you're one of a few women in your team and you want to reach out to other women that are doing the same job as you, or you want to even gain some insight into another field. Industry organisations like this are really helpful for that. Share behind the scenes insights from whichever field you're working in, research projects highlighting your hands-on knowledge, developing a strong professional presence. So one of the easiest things that you can do is to get onto LinkedIn if you're not already. You may be on something like Google Scholar. Help to showcase achievements, show your key projects and your unique contributions. And also seek interviews with industry publications, podcasts or magazines. These things help to highlight your expertise and achievements and your unique perspectives of working in the sector as well. And just to simplify things right down, the 3 pillars of a strong personal brand are authenticity, consistency, and visibility. So again, when you talk about a personal brand, people feel sometimes that they have to act in a different way, and that they have to be someone that's not themselves. And they might think, oh, I'm not really that corporate professional person. That's not me. Then don't be that person. Be you and show up as yourself. And you also don't have to worry about blowing your own trumpet, if you like. It's not about showing off. It's just about sharing your expertise and really owning that as well. There's space for everyone, and it's important that you recognize your own achievements. So using LinkedIn to grow your personal brand. So this can help you to establish yourself as an authority, build trust and credibility, expand your network with the right people, attract opportunities, increase visibility beyond your immediate circle, showcase your personality and unique perspective, stay ahead with industry trends and insights. I find LinkedIn to be a treasure trove of information, insights, opportunities, and it's just about reaching out to peers, people that you might want to work with, people that you want to learn from, and just connecting with them, following them, and then your feed on LinkedIn is personalized to you. So you're getting to see all of this relevant industry information all the time. So it's a really good place to be. It's a great place to start when you're thinking about creating your own personal brand. And so to optimize your LinkedIn presence, you have lots of different sections to fill in. Your headline, clearly state your expertise in industry. So you don't necessarily have to put your job title in there. It's not a CV, so you can put in whatever you like. It could be, I've got an example in the next slide actually, so I'll show you that. You've got a banner there where you can use that space for showing off some of your brand. So you want it to be professional, approachable, and if you like, relevant to aquaculture. For the about section, tell your story. This is what your personal brand is all about, why you're passionate about your work and your contributions. And when you're sharing content, share your insights, your project updates, and your thought leadership. I will show you this example. This is mine. So instead of marketing specialist or marketing events manager, I have supporting women-led, female-empowered businesses to elevate their presence. So this gives an idea of who I work with and what I do. So you can do this if you have your own business, but if you don't have your own business and you work for a company, you're not, you're not wed to that company. This is about you. This is your personal profile. So put something in there that gives someone an idea when they come across your profile exactly what you do and what your expertise is, rather than what just your job title. And then showcase your expertise through your content. So you can write LinkedIn articles on sustainability, innovation, industry challenges, whatever your expertise covers. If you already write a blog or articles for a newsletter or something like that, you can absolutely repurpose them on a LinkedIn article. And LinkedIn articles are searchable on LinkedIn, but they also will turn up on a Google search. So that's a really good way to amplify your message. Share behind the scenes posts of your work. I personally find these things so interesting to see what people are doing. And it's just kind of, it gives a window into the world that you live in and the work that you do. Comment and share insights from industry reports and news. This one is really good to help you connect with other people who have the same interests. If you look through comments on a piece that you're interested in, and you also can add your perspective, if you look through the comments, you're likely to find people that you would probably be interested in connecting with. Which takes us on to the engage with other professionals to grow your network. And so building confidence in your personal brand, imposter syndrome, it's common, it's totally normal, but try to remember that your voice and expertise matter and there's space for everyone. I hear all the time people tell me, oh, I'm just really shy. I don't want to show up on social media and I don't want to speak at an event because I'm really shy. And I completely relate to that. I've been shy my whole life, and it's not easy. But I think there are certain ways to just take small steps to begin to try and pull out of that for the good of the work that you do. So yeah, confidence grows through action. Start small and build up. Seek out mentorship and peer support where you can, and celebrate your wins, big and small. And so final thoughts. It's about being intentional with your presence and message. Small, consistent efforts lead to big impacts. And if you want to start to take one action today, optimize your LinkedIn profile, share a post or connect with someone new, and just start to take those small steps. And I would absolutely love to connect with anybody who watches this presentation, and you'll be able to find me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Hazel. Thanks so much. I'll start the Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, just let us know in the chat. I won't be able to see the chat right now, so if there's something out there, Maya, please raise your hands and I'll go to it. Okay, so Hazel, I have a question. You didn't mention this in during your talk. How did you first came into aquaculture, came associated with women, with people that work in this area, in
So I
this
came into
industry?
aquaculture. I first started working in aquaculture almost 7 years ago for the Sustainable Aquaculture Innovation Centre. And we're in Scotland. And it just came about. It was not something that I was necessarily seeking to do. But I found this job description that I felt was absolutely written for me. Managing events, managing marketing, social media, website stuff, really was just everything that I was into. And then while I was there, some colleagues had done a survey with women in Scottish aquaculture and then formed Women in Scottish Aquaculture, the network. And at the organisation, we were responsible for the hosting and administration of that network. So that's how I started with WiCA, and went to some events, organised some events, did a lot of networking with the women in the network. And actually, one of the first events that I went to was a real light bulb moment for me, because I heard from these women that were really accomplished. They'd done so much amazing work through their careers. And I heard from them about imposter syndrome. I heard from them about, the motherhood penalty, um, things that were holding them back from things that they wanted to do and how they overcame that. And at the time, I had this belief, or I had this way of saying things like, "Oh well, I only work part-time," and I realized I was minimizing the impact that I had, even though I might work part-time, but I show up and I give it everything. So I stopped the kind of narrative that I had for myself and the limiting beliefs that I had for myself, as a result of meeting these women and hearing their stories. So, for example, one of them, she was a farming director of one of the big producers, and she had decided early in her career she wanted that position, and she worked her way up to that position, and she told anyone, all of their managers, that's what she was going to do. And another person who was speaking, she had come back from maternity leave, and found out that her male counterpart was getting paid more, and he actually encouraged her to go and ask for a pay rise, and she did, and there was absolutely no hesitation to give it to her. So there was just this kind of light bulb moment of, no matter what your working pattern is, no matter what it is that you're doing, you're showing up and you're giving your best work, and there's nothing, there's no but, there's no like I just, it's, we are all valid to turn up and own what we do and be proud of what we do. So that was kind of a big one for me.
Yeah, so what I'm now realizing and reflecting on is that having for instance, if someone were to work with you, they would have to, I think, I don't know how you go through the exercise. I'm gonna stop sharing so we can focus on the faces. Okay, so whenever someone goes through a personal branding service with you, it feels like at some point they have to start reflecting on their uniqueness, on what they have to offer to the industry. It's sort of like a coaching process on itself, isn't it? Because you have to start consciously realizing, okay, what makes you a good professional? What are your goals? What is the way that you have to portray, or you want to portray to the to the world. How have you felt this process with the person that you work with, from the minute they say, okay, I'm taking the leap to start properly portraying a media persona in social media to the point where they are now? How's that process been for you?
So it's to start with, it can be quite difficult because, as I said,
Mhm.
it's just not a comfortable position to be in. I think that a lot of us are, just quite accustomed to scurrying away, doing our work, and being happy enough just to do that and enjoy that process. But I think, it's now become so much the norm that people are on social media. People are engaging in so much more. Um, like there's so many platforms available. Also, if you think about within industries and within aquaculture itself, lots of events to go to, lots of networking to do. I always think that it's actually quite a small community as well. Whenever we go to events, it's like, you see loads of people that you know and lots of people you end up talking to. So it's very like you are very visible anyway, I think, in such a kind of small community of a sector. Certainly within your own country, say. So, I think it's a good thing to lean into that visibility, and to let people know what you're about, because there can be lots of opportunities that you just didn't know existed. Um, so yeah, the first thing to do is to really focus on those achievements and skills. And it can be quite a difficult process to pull those out. But what I usually tell people is, well, think about it as if it's your friend or a family member. How would you describe that person? And when it's like almost having like taking yourself out of the equation and thinking about yourself as a family member or a friend, and you wouldn't hesitate to tell someone about your friend who's amazing at XYZ. You just wouldn't hesitate. You would absolutely recommend that person. So it's thinking about yourself in that way. It's so hard to do, so hard to do. But once you start to do that, and you don't have to give it with like so much, um, like exaggeration. I am amazing at, as you don't have to do that. But once you recognize your strengths, you can then pull that to the fore for people. So for the people who don't personally know you yet, you can let them know. Um, I've done this really important work. I was part of this project and I was responsible for XYZ. And that is facts. So bring the facts forward as well. But you can also talk about teamwork. I led the team to do XYZ. So it's pulling out the facts, but also pulling out the feelings as well, that you want other people to have when they come across your profile, or whether or when they meet you at a networking event, or they hear you speak at an event or something like that. How do you want people to feel? Um, do you want them to feel that they're going to be supported if they work with you, or do you want them to feel like they're going to have good leadership? Um, so it's thinking about those things, which if you ask someone to just write down like what are your strengths, it will probably be like a couple of bullet points. But if you ask them to think about it from that perspective, as if they are talking about a friend or family member, then I think that can help to, move things along and make it a bit easier as well.
Right. So I have a question about the impact of being on LinkedIn, being active, building your network with LinkedIn on a virtually. So you work for the Sustainable Aquaculture Innovation Center. You are part of Women in Scottish Aquaculture. Have you seen in a success story, some opportunity that has come up thanks to the use of social media or the use of networking? What have you seen the impact? And I'm sure you would, but could you think of a tangible example of so we can get excited about, okay, this could really work out, in
Sure.
case someone is not there yet at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, an example that I'll give you first off is actually for my own business. So I work part-time for Sake, and I have my own business, Number Nine Marketing. So when I first launched my business on LinkedIn, so I created a company page and announced to my connections that this was my new venture. And actually, from that is when I started to work with Caribbean Aquaculture Education and Innovation Hub and WiCA. So Julianne, founder of WiCA, and I had we had met in Stirling like not long before that. So we were already connected, excuse me. And so she got in touch to see if I could do some work with WiCA. So that's one example. That's like a direct um success, if you like, from the connections that I already had, so my existing connections. Another example is was I was just having a look through my feed one day and saw an opportunity for a digital marketing consultant to work on an exhibition. And this was again through the fact that one of my connections had posted this. I then got in touch to find out more about the opportunity, and I ended up working on this project. So there are loads of things, loads of different ways that you can use LinkedIn. So, it does have its job listings. You can absolutely have a look through those if you're looking for a job. But that might be as well if you're connected with someone who has a trade, who's got like a trade publication. They're looking for people to interview. People who have a podcast, they want to interview someone for the podcast. There's lots of things that you can find just from spending 10 minutes on LinkedIn per day, just having a look through, connecting with people that, they might be your peers, they might be people who work for companies that you're interested in working with or for. Um, and then just sharing things that kind of match your values and your perspectives. So I'll share lots of things that are about women empowerment, women in business, because that aligns with my values, and I'll add a little bit of extra perspective into that as well. So there's lots of ways to use it, and I think it has been massively impactful for me, and other people that I know as well, that are just sort of starting to get to grips with it and start to realize that it is a treasure trove of opportunities if you choose to use it.
Thanks. So, yes, no, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile yet, I mean, consider to have it and to have it active and to reflect on what is your purpose being there, or reach out to Hazel, of course. So, okay, so I have another question. Do you find that the social media communication differs for women in aquaculture from women in another industry? Have you seen a pattern or a nuance or difference in it?
Um, not really. I wouldn't say so. I
Hmm.
think in the industries that I've been involved in, oil and gas and renewables, aquaculture, they are all very still male dominated industries. There are plenty of women in all of these sectors, but it is a fact they are male dominated, and they tend to have these women's initiatives or women's networks, to offer support and growth to women within them. So I'd say it's all pretty similar in that the aim is just to be available, to have mentorship for women, um, to a lot of the time provide training for women as well, specifically. But yeah, just to help women to connect as well, which is really important.
I have a quick
Thank you.
question.
And yeah,
Oh,
go ahead, Maya.
so yeah, I see a lot of parallels between what we've heard today and some of our previous talks, like when we heard from Dr. Olivia Fuso a couple of days ago, when she was talking about facing that imposter syndrome and building the confidence to move past it and able to give a good presentation, or when we heard from Sherelle with just being able to write. And then we also had this other talk from Edward Friday where he was teaching us about different AI tools. So I was just wondering, to what extent do you include AI in your work, or what recommendations slash advice would you give to people who have some challenges, expressing themselves in these social media platforms, and how best they could utilize these kinds of tools?
Yeah, so I think AI is kind of misrepresented, misunderstood. I mean, it is and it isn't. I think it's got a bit of a bad rep recently over, I think people overutilize it. So especially companies with their social media, you can kind of tell straight away if it's something that's just been copied and pasted and it sounds robotic and it's just not a good look. However, I really, really enjoy using it for a lot of things. It's so good for idea generation. Everyone's got their day jobs, right? And they're kind of your mind's full. So you're you're doing your job. You may or may not have care and responsibilities for kids, parents, whatever. You've got stuff to do outside of work as well. You've just got this head full of stuff. So sometimes you sit down to write something and you've got absolutely zero inspiration. That's where AI will come in and you can ask for a bit of inspiration. And what I've found with it as well, and I predominantly use ChatGPT, is that if you use it regularly, it will get to know you, which is slightly creepy, but it's really helpful. So it will get to know what you're about. It will get to know your tone of voice. And if it comes up with something you don't like, you can tell it. I don't like that. That's really cheesy, or that's a little bit too enthusiastic. I don't talk like that. Like you can tell it stuff like that. But the key thing there is it is giving you a pointer, it's giving you a starter for 10. It's not writing your content for you. So you can pull that content. I tend to pull it off into a Word document, and then I will pretty much rewrite it. But it's that idea generation that I think is key. And also from a personal brand point of view, and for people who are new to LinkedIn, or you're already there, you might have been there for years, but you're not really a poster, if you like. You don't post stuff regularly. You don't have to go right ahead and post a video of yourself talking or even a picture of yourself. You don't have to do that. You can absolutely share something else and add your perspectives to it. Um, you can do things in small steps, and you can never show your face on there if you don't want to. But if you're posting your perspectives and your experiences, if you do thought leadership pieces and things like that, people will then know your name, and know what it is that you do. So there are different ways of doing it. I do recommend getting your face on there if you can, because it is about being social, and networking with people, and people will relate to you so much better if they do see your face. But it doesn't have to be, like I say, it doesn't have to be like you talking to camera or anything like that. It can just be, a picture of you, like, at work. It could be something at work, or it could just literally be a still photo. Um, so it is just sorry, to take it back to AI, you know, like the AI is not ever going to replace what's in your head, and what you are about and your values. So you kind of have to take it with a pinch of salt, use it wisely. But if you use it regularly, like I said, it can get to know you a little bit, and it takes a lot of the legwork out of the editing. So I think it's a really good tool to use.
That's cool.
Yes,
No, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Ma'am.
No, I was just gonna
No,
ask, apart from, like, you speak a lot about LinkedIn, and I mean, I'm on there too, although I want to be more active, but then would there be other, I guess there's the obvious Facebooks and Instagrams, but would there be any other platform that you would recommend getting your professional profile out there on?
I think LinkedIn is really the best one for the professional network. Instagram's pretty good as well. Instagram has a really nice community feel about it. So that one's just much more casual, which is absolutely fine as well. So, you know, if you want to use it from a work perspective, that's actually a great place to show all your pictures and your videos and things like that. So, you know, if you're doing something interesting at work, and you're able to get a quick video, you know, you don't even have to speak in it. It can literally be of a project that you're involved in, and then you can write in the caption what it's about, or you can do a voiceover or something like that. So that can feel sometimes a bit less like intimidating than LinkedIn. I think because LinkedIn traditionally is that professional network, we tend to connect with everyone we've ever worked with is on there, and you feel really like exposed, and it can be really nerve-wracking sometimes to post a video of yourself, for example, and I've done it and I've cringed, inwardly like cringed, but you know, I've done it because I run a business, and because you know, there's something I wanted to say that I felt was important. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, that's fine. You know, think what you want, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to please everyone. You know, not everyone is going to like you. You don't like everyone. So, you know, it's you're going to find the right people to connect with, regardless of what platform you're on. But I do feel that with Instagram, I'm probably a bit more chilled. It's a little bit more relaxed of a place to be, but it can work really nicely from a business perspective as well, and from a professional perspective.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes, and thank you, Maya, for asking that type of questions, because sometimes I feel like it might be a public perception that for social media and the outspoken ones are the extroverts really at first, for real, naturally. But you might be brilliant and have ambition, but might be on the introvert side a bit more. But for instance, from my perspective, a perspective where I manage a program for women, and that we review candidates, hundreds of candidates yearly. We do ask for the LinkedIn profile, and whenever people have like a voice in there, it makes them a much more attractive candidate for us, for instance. And but I feel that is the case, like the CEOs, the CEO, the CTOs, the outspoken person. But that is so there are some great tools for introverts as well. Okay, you don't even have to show your face, but be out there, let your name be known, or oh, so I think the relevancy of those uh, tips that you're giving out, I think would be very useful for a big chunk of the aquaculture scientists. Um, okay, because what do you think about this? When I think sometimes about personal branding, I feel that we're talking about influencers. But that's a separate thing. Could you explain a bit the difference between these two?
Yeah, so influencers are generally people who are paid to literally influence other people to buy stuff, or to, you know, to follow a movement or a campaign or something like that. And yeah, those people they tend to be extroverted, and have no issues with putting themselves out there. Um, Personal branding, it is, you know, it is accessible for people who are introverted. I think though you can think of it as your personal brand is also going to influence people one way or another. So, you know, your expertise and your values and your perspectives on whatever it is that you do, that is also going to influence people, in whichever way, you know, whichever way they go. So, you know, you might have a strong opinion on fish farming, or a specific type of fish farming, say. You may favor, you know, shellfish farming over salmon farming, for example, because that's what you do for a living. That's you know, that's your you're involved in that sort of sector. And so you might have some thoughts on the sustainability about these particular operations. And that's absolutely fine for you to share that, because that's your perspective and it's also part of your experience. Working as a mussel farmer, for example, you know, you can share that kind of stuff. And then you're going to have people who are interested in mussel farming that, you know, are influenced potentially by your perspectives, and maybe they want to find out more. Maybe they don't believe you that this is a more sustainable form of farming. So they want to find out more about that. And maybe they're going to find out that, you know, everything that you were saying is indeed correct. And it might make them think, okay, well, you know, sustainability is really important to me. So this is a sector that I want to be involved in. So you've directly influenced that person, potentially. So, you know, I'd say not to underestimate the impact that you can actually personally have, on your connections and your network. And even just to go back to that example of going to one of the first WiCA networking events and hearing from those women, who in my head, in my mind, just, you know, oh, they were so much more accomplished than me. And like, it's not a competition. It's, you know, they are in these leadership positions because they wanted to be. That doesn't mean I want to be in a leadership position. But what they told me or what they taught me in that session was just to not underestimate yourself and to not put yourself in a box. So they really influenced me at that time, to stop having limiting beliefs, I guess. So yeah, I think the idea of influencers sounds quite scary to people, and that's not necessarily what you're looking to do. It might be, if that's your gig, you know, that might be something that's really exciting to you if you have those aspirations. But you know, if you are kind of introverted, and you're usually sat behind a screen, or you know, you're in a lab, or you might be working on a farm, and you're just not really into that sort of thing. As I said, there's so many small steps that you can take, to just start pushing yourself a little bit. Like, you know, don't go completely crazy, like, you know, like go out of your comfort zone like immediately. It just takes small steps, to start letting people know that you're there, and to start opening up some opportunities as well.
Thank you. And by the way, if you work in aquaculture in the lab or on a farm or whatever, oh my God, there's so much content that you could share. Pictures or the daily work, or a result of some experiments. Like for me, an outsider to the field, I found that really interesting. So even if it's a small achievement or just a day's work, yes, I'd love to. There's some people that outside of it would like to learn more about what you do on a daily basis. Okay, so you touched a little bit. If you have another question, let me know, but maybe we have time for another one. And this is a bit outside of personal branding, but more into the aquaculture industry public awareness. You mentioned sustainability, and you mentioned, for instance, a more sustainable ways to farm or to feed or whatever. I mean, that is a reality that aquaculture might be an erroneous public perception in some sphere, maybe questioned. Do you have a communication strategy or about around that, or have you been in touch with that type of comments or movements that are opposite of what we're actually doing? How do you manage that?
Yeah, so I think the best way to manage that is to really just deal with facts. So you're always going to have people who have the wrong idea. Public perception, it varies quite intensely. To the very, very positive, to the absolutely down in the dumps negative on it. So you're going to have people who you can't change their minds, cannot change their minds. If people are, you get activists who, they've decided, they've made their mind up, and you will not change that mind. So I think if you make peace with that, and just be like, okay, well, you're entitled to your opinion and move on from that, that's one strategy. Another is just to meet something that's not true, a claim that's not true with a fact, whatever that might be. So if you're in a position to, excuse me, to understand what that person's talking about, and you are in possession of the facts, if you're in that position to actually to point that out to someone and to lay out the reality to them, and to the people who will also be able to see comments, because it's not just about speaking to that one person. When someone makes a comment on something on your social media, it is then viewed by whoever comes across that, which is part of the issue, because it can snowball. But if you're able to point out the facts, then I think that's all you can do, because there are people who just will not listen to reason. But there will be people who are grateful to be given the real story. So I think it's just, do not engage with people who want to rage bait. And yeah, if you're able to provide your expertise on a matter, then do so, and inform people, educate people.
Thanks. So with this, we wrap up the session, and I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Thank you. Thank you, Hazel, so much. This was just such an interesting and inspiring conversation that I hope, Maya, you're feeling, you and me, I know will be a bit more inspired to post online on LinkedIn even more.
I'm gonna try.
Am I right? No, I'll try to be more active, and thank you for touching and reflecting on the importance of this. And if we're up for it, maybe we can look you up and have a more comprehensive professional strategy, so we know who to ask to.
Definitely.
Thanks,
Amazing.
Hazel.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Of course.
All right, so I'm gonna share my screen in a second. Oh, I have two monitors. I have to go through it. Okay, so we're now seeing the other sessions that we still have left. There are still 3 more days of the webinar, and we'll start on Tuesday of next week. And well, you're very invited to come in and register, or check out the recordings that we have. And let's be mindful that your fee, your ticket will directly help the Caribbean Aquaculture Education and Innovation Hub, help students move forward and provide tools for them in the Caribbean. So thank you so much for your fee. And time to thank our sponsors. One of them, Number 9 Marketing by the brilliant Hazel over here, and as well as Digital with Grace, Biomar, Most Solutions, the World Aquaculture Society, the Latin American Caribbean chapter, Aquasafra Tilapia, and Nexus Distribution. So thank you for being part of it and making this happen too. And so with this, we wrap it up. Thank you. Thank you for being here. If you're live, thank you for your time. And if you're seeing the recording, I hope this was really helpful for you as it was for me and enjoyable. So
Definitely.
thank you. Thank you, everyone.